So, you may have seen a video talking about why coding is dead, and there are several points laid out in the video about the reasons as well as factors coming to the conclusion that why coding is dead. Well, here I'm going to give you several reasons why I think coding is dead, as well as different perspectives on that topic. One of the factors that I think is contributing to why coding is dead is that, it's no longer a distinct subculture. There's a lot of people who are really good at coding, and you can't really tell by looking at them. It used to be before, how social media was used, before really people utilizing the internet at this type of rate, that you could see who a coder was, right? Stereotypically, you could see a coder was somebody who, had messy hair, bad hygiene. They would wear maybe long sleeve shirts where the sleeve collar would be chewed out, right? They always chew out the sleeve collar, and they would just really be unkempt and maybe not in the best shape, but you could tell maybe they are a super coder. Now you can't really tell who's who. You see a picture right here, right? They have something called tech bros. People were a little broish. People, what's like, what's up, bro? Or say, what's up, brah? Yeah, they're really good at coding, right? Part of the reason is because of the internet. We can just be able to search the things we want, right? We don't need to be part of a group to be knowledgeable. We can be part of online groups, right? We can just search it up. And this type of person, if you see here, a so-called bro, maybe before I would say, the rise of Google, he might have worked at a finance firm, right? He might have been at Wall Street doing stock trading, that type of activity. You ever seen that movie Wolf of Wall Street? That same type of arrogance, ego, behavior. He might have worked in finance, but now today, right, I would say in the late 2020, late 2022, the big money. You really want to make big money, and you're not in the top 1%. Maybe you got to join a tech company, right? That's where you can really make big money to have something that you're skilled in. Maybe you're not the top 1%, but you are skilled in. Another example I like to pull up, you see this person, right? She is, a coder at a software engineering company. Maybe 20 years ago, you wouldn't have, pinned her as such, but look at that. The reason why we can have these type of people, not necessarily stereotypically coders, but all types of people, is because of the internet, right? If I wanted to know how to put on makeup, put on foundation, put on, certain designs, what do? I go on the internet. I go on TikTok. I go on Google. I go on YouTube. I go on, websites that will teach me how to do X, Y, and Z. I don't need to be part of a social group to learn how to do certain crafts. I just got to search it up, maybe join an online community, discuss with people in the community. Bam, I'm in, right? Before the internet, people had to like go on magazines, go on TV. But nowadays, this is a lot faster. I can just search up on my phone. I'm in the game pronto. So I don't got to fulfill the stereotype in order to, do certain functions. I can be good at multiple things just by looking it up through the internet. And here's the thing, just because you code doesn't make you a software engineer, right? Just like you may know how to do certain math problems, you may know how to do certain calculations, doesn't make you a mathematician, right? Software engineers are not the only people who code. A lot of people who work in, let's say, information technology, IT, they code, but they're not software engineers, right? They may be doing some coding to do an automation, make things better. Maybe they work at IT department. Maybe they manage a database administrator, and they're doing some kind of coding to make their work better for themselves and for the company. So we got to break the notion is just because you code doesn't mean you're a software engineer. Sometimes it's just what you do. Just like you may know how to write a couple of essays doesn't make you a writer. You know how to do math problems doesn't make you a mathematician. You know how to cook a couple of recipes doesn't make you a chef, right? So just because your function doesn't define your profession. And some people may say that, there's a surprising trend. Like there has been somebody who's been under 28 as a tech founder really blow up. I think the thing is that a lot of people, not, I'm not going to say a lot of people, but some people may say that, you know, startup founders are mainly a young person's game. Not necessarily. There's a lot of people who are maybe a lot older, maybe a lot more experienced in the industry who are startup founders, right? For example, there's one company out there, I believe it's called Okta, right? They are a startup. They have Silicon Valley funding, and they were founded by people who worked at Salesforce for a while. So they've been in the game. They're not just fresh out of college. They're not just in college. So I think a lot of times when they put young CEOs or young startup founders, it's what gets the clicks, right? It's what gets people going to read the article or read that piece of content. So I want to don't say it's like clickbait, but it's a little bit of a clickbait when it comes to that arena. But here's the thing, right? It seems like, there's not enough money coming into our pockets. Well, you got to see in this perspective. The people who have it, it seems like they're having it even more. And the individuals who don't have it, the have nots, it seems like the ditch is getting bigger and bigger. And put it this way, right? You see, you ever been to like a college campus and there's a lot of people from foreign countries and they're like super flexified, right? They're like wearing, Supreme, they're wearing all sorts of luxury gear and it's not even in fashion, right? They're wearing like every single name brand on their body as possible, right? So they're definitely flexing. And there's actually people in your college campuses are really related to royalty, right? They're not going to get the crown, right? But they're somewhat related to royalty that they still get a paycheck every month, maybe on a regular basis, simply because they're affiliated with a royal family. So, you know, a lot of times as we've seen people with a lot of money, they show it off, they flexify with it, maybe through their cars, luxury goods, what they do, what they consume. So you have to understand there's definitely money out there, but I think there's a stronger divide between those who have it and those individuals who don't have it. And there's the argument of so-called star power versus nerd power. And there was, I think, an argument where maybe there was a place where it was all in nerd power and not as much in star power, and now it's reverting back to star power. I don't think there was a movement. It's always been the star at first, and then the nerd power as the empowerment to the star, right? You see, here's the thing. There are some people who are naturally good at, being a showman, a salesperson, right? A marketing person, right? There's some people who have that knack and talent to attract people. But once you attract people, how do you deliver the goods? Right? You need people with the nerd power to deliver the goods to ultimately get what you want. I see it in sales all the time. You got a salesperson, they may lie to you, they may charm you, they may even try to say things to really convince you that person, he or she is a good person. But as soon as they make this sale, who has to deliver the goods? The person with the nerd power, the person with the know how to really execute that product. So now you're in the position is who do you rely on, the salesperson or the person who has the skills, the technical skills? Well, usually the salesperson in most organizations, they're the cream of the crop, right? They bring in the bacon, they bring in the bread. But ultimately, what is the core of the company? Because if you have an organization where it's all salespeople and then the product they're delivering is trash, then people don't trust the salesperson anymore, right? No matter how much of a, influencer or a persuader you are, you really disappoint them once or twice, they're not going to trust you anymore. And I think it really comes down to being aware how to play your position, right? Because you can't really be somebody who is technical and really do that through your life. You got to have some level of awareness, right? I think there was a quote somewhere out there, I don't remember, is not everyone can be number one. Sometimes in the situation it's better to be number two, because if you're number one all the time, you're butting heads with other people who may see you as number one, right? I think there is one law in the 48 laws of power, trying to outshine the master, right? Do you outshine the master in circumstances? Of course, if the time is right. But do you do it as your default move? Probably not. So I think being aware is really your advantageous position, because sometimes just because you're the star doesn't mean you're the best, right? Sometimes it's better to be number two, or number three is better to survive than to end up being 6 feet under. But here's the thing, right? We know the big companies, the big tech companies, they're the one that really move the needle in terms of the economy, but big tech can't be big tech forever, right? There was a time when you worked at, let's say, IBM. That was one of the big companies to work for. Ford Motors, General Motors, right? So, things are always changing, and I think we're starting to see some cracks or maybe some shifts in certain so-called big tech players. For example, we see Meta, also known as Facebook. Their stock has definitely dumped down to like places that we haven't seen in a while, right? If you look at the peak of the stock, maybe around like a 360K, sorry, 360 a share. Now it's almost 100 a share, right? That's like a move in the wrong direction, if you ask me. So, we don't know what these changes may shift. Maybe for somebody to get a good job, maybe an American company is not the move. Maybe we got to move to a different company in a different country. If that's what the circumstance dictates, that's what the circumstance dictates. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, put a like, subscribe, put a comment below if you got something to say about it. I'll see y'all next time.